So you break your leg, you go to the doctor. If you've got a bit of toothache, you go to the dentist. But what do you do when you're just feeling down, or I don't know, maybe you're afraid of something? Well, that's actually what's brought me to Pinewood Studios today, as I'm going to meet their resident life coach, Christopher Jones, to find out what he can do about my little problem. So Chris, it does sound very impressive what you do, but at the moment in the UK, life coaching is completely unregulated.
Yes.
So I know you don't call yourself a life coach, but how can anybody trust coming to see somebody like you?
There are some advantages to having regulation. But if I look at the field that I mainly work in, which is neuro-linguistic programming, the whole point of that is that new technologies, new things are introduced all the time. It's called modelling, so new things get added. Now, if it was regulated and set in stone and say this is what an NLP practitioner, NLP trainer has to cover, has to do, then there's no way it can evolve. But I don't think a regulation would be a bad thing. I don't know how that would work, but I wouldn't disagree with that, yeah.
Because surely we have a system now where almost anybody can be a life coach.
Correct, yes.
So how do we prevent that from happening? Because, you know, how does the average person, how do I know that I'm going to see somebody who's good, like yourself, as opposed to just somebody who wants to make a few quid?
Yes, I agree. I think you have a valid point there. I think some form of regulation would be good, and I think it would clear out a lot of the scepticism and a lot of the charlatans if it was regulated.
So what qualifications do you have, and how much training did you do before you decided to go out there into the world and help people?
I'm a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming, so that involves, I did many courses in NLP, EFT, hypnotherapy.
What's EFT?
EFT, so that's emotional freedom technique. So,
right, because most people have probably heard of NLP, that's now quite a commonplace practice.
I have a next door neighbour where I said I did NLP, and he went, oh yeah, that's marketing, that's where you use the language to get someone on side and to sell. And I spoke to a psychotherapist who lived the other door and said, I do NLP, and they went, oh, that's therapy. So NLP application is vast.
If you break your leg, you go to a doctor and you're looking for that doctor to, you know, fix your leg.
Yes.
We can see that's happened and that it's worked. And a doctor has studied for years and years and years. You know that, you trust them.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is people come to you when they're very vulnerable, when they've got a problem, when they're stressed out or worried.
Yes.
They put their faith in you, and we need to know that you actually do know what you're doing.
Yes. I think there are good doctors and bad doctors, good life coaches and bad life coaches.
How much training do you think somebody should have to do if they want to be a life coach? How many hours, how many qualifications?
I think that if they're looking to work with big problems, they need to have done a lot of practice.
Which means years, or?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, I think that would be good.
Do you think that there are people out there right now who haven't really done anything, who say that they're life coaches?
Yes.
And how do people know when they're seeing somebody real and when they're seeing someone bogus?
It's down to the individual to make a choice, I think. You know, they know if they come out of a session feeling better than they went in, they're probably a good person to go see. If someone comes in with an issue and they resolve it, I know I've made a difference to an individual.
So what's your most successful case that you've had?
I guess it's the ones where people think that they can't, when they go, I've seen a psychologist, I've seen a hypnotherapist, I've seen a blah, 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 I've seen this, I've seen a Reiki, they go through the whole list of people they've seen. And when they come to me and they get the result, that's quite a good feeling, to know that I've managed to make a difference when other people weren't able to help for whatever reason.
And what's the most common problem that people come to you with?
I think phobias are very common. I think relationships are very common. Sort of weight loss and health are very common.
How can you get people to lose weight in one session with you?
So you have to think everything you do is a strategy. So if I was to get you to think about going to the gym now, you have, when I say that, you may get a combination of these, but you get a feeling that comes up, you get a picture, you get a sound, you get something that comes up for you internally. Now, if you're a fitness expert, I would imagine it's positive. If you're going to the gym less often, I imagine it's negative. If I say, you know, go to the pub, going out, you'll have a picture, you'll have a feeling. So there's something going on in your brain. It's basically something's firing, linking pleasure, linking pain to it. If you change those associations, you can change how you feel about anything. And this is how you can change sort of like a phobia very quickly.
Have you heard where people have done this and it's gone wrong and they've made the person worse?
No. Certainly with NLP and EFT, to my knowledge, and it's only the best of my knowledge, I don't know of a situation you could make worse. The worst you could do is make it indifferent.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
good thing. So
Yes.
you might waste your money, but you're probably not going to do too much more damage.
Well, yes.
Hopefully. You might go in hoping that you're going to have your fear of spiders cured and not.
Yes.
But you're not going to come out even, more afraid.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds so good that surely it should be available on the NHS.
I absolutely agree. I think it should. I think it is coming. It's starting to filter into sort of more mainstream therapies. It's getting so that you can, for hypnosis, certainly you can be on the hypnotherapy register, for example. And there's an NHS alternative register now which does cover it. So,
Do you think it would end up saving the government money because people who perhaps they might prescribe antidepressants to, maybe that instead of that they would actually send them to see somebody like yourself?
absolutely. And I do think there is an overdependence on drugs. And it's not that sometimes, obviously people do need them sometimes, but I think doctors are trained to go, you're depressed, have this, rather than going, what's the cause? It's not dealing with the issue, it's kind of blindsiding the issue, and that's, I think, the difference.
Putting a plaster on the
Yeah.
symptom. I think the main problem is when someone's got something going wrong, like I have problems sleeping sometimes. When it really gets to you, that's when you start to look for help. So you go on the internet and you type in sleep deprivation or whatever your problem might be, and up pop all these different experts and psychologists and counsellors. You don't know where to go, you don't know where to put your money.
The more people that experience it and have positive things to say, the more it will grow anyway.
I mean, it's
But
huge
I think,
now. People talk about life coaching.
Yes.
It's massive in America. All celebrities have it done. But I still don't think it's filtered down.
the doctors, when I say what I do, have gone, oh, I've heard about that, I'm interested in learning it. So I do think it is kind of converging and coming together.
So in somebody's life, are you as important as a doctor?
I think it serves a very different purpose, but I think in certain circumstances, if someone's got, lost their direction, it's not just some faddy thing. If someone doesn't know where they're going, that can cause depression, that can cause suicide, that can cause all kinds of issues. So yes, in certain circumstances, it could be as powerful as a doctor.
And why are you better than what my best friend could do to help me sort my problems out?
Well, it's certainly what I do, the hypnosis skills and the NLP skills. It's not just about intellectualizing your way to a result. It's actually about really feeling that result and knowing you can get there. So it's making the change unconsciously, if you like, or subconsciously rather than consciously.
Okay, well, I'm setting myself a challenge. I'm going to try and become a life coach in a week.
Yes.
Before I go out there, I'd like to see you in action.
Okay.
Maybe you can help me with a problem that I've got. Then I can go forth and mimic your ways. So, my sleep problem.
Your sleep problem?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Thank you very much, Chris.
okay.
I think that's quite amazing that I came in here talking about sleep. We didn't talk about that much, did we?
No.
No.
So what happened for you? I'm interested to know.
Well, you unearthed a few problems.
Yes.
You did a bit of digging. But, I think that you answered a few of my questions that clearly this is something that you have taken some time to study and are very skilled at, I would say. And, I didn't expect to come in here and kind of go on the journey that you took me on. I was surprised by how in-depth he was, and I was surprised because I've been to see a counsellor once before in my life, which is something that we don't like admitting, and it's a sign of weakness, but I have, and I didn't find it very useful, to be honest. I'm not knocking all counsellors, but for me personally, that method didn't really work for me. So whereas what we did today by no means was Chris making decisions for me or concluding things for me, but it was far more structured than the counselling session that I'd previously experienced. It's very different to just chatting to a friend or just sitting in a bar and having a drink and trying to forget your problems that way. This is not doing that. This is actually facing them with somebody who's neutral and non-judgmental, and someone who you can probably be more honest with than you can in your own everyday life. I was surprised that we got through so much. I was surprised that he structured it without actually telling me what I was thinking or feeling, and he managed to dig quite deep. I felt as if I was in a very safe pair of hands, and he did a good job.